I'm going to say this right now, and I want to make this evidently clear to the rest of the college football world. Kentucky is good enough to beat Alabama. It's a tricky game. It's a trap game. I think Kentucky, maybe they do some trick plays. They're going to let their nuts hang. They have nothing to lose. They're not supposed to win this game. Man, oh man, I'm just going to come out and say this at the very beginning of this video. I'm extremely nervous and worried. I am. If you were to go into the dictionary and look up trap game, I guarantee you there would be a picture of this Kentucky versus Alabama matchup. It doesn't get any more, what's the phrase I'm looking for? I guess you'd say trap game-ish. Is that even a word? Well, you get what I'm trying to say. It doesn't get any more trap game-ish than this. Alabama's coming off of not one, but back-to-back big-time home wins. Everybody and their mama's praising them, telling how good they have looked and how good they really are. And guess what? How did I forget to throw this in there? This game's also at 11 a.m. I'm telling you right now, if you're an Alabama fan and you didn't think trap game when you saw we were kicking off at 11 a.m. at Kentucky on the road, I don't know what to tell you. You're just not a true fan. And I'm not talking about a true Alabama fan. I'm talking about a true college football fan. I can't emphasize this enough. Let's just take a look at this, right? Coming off of back-to-back top 20 ranked wins, check. Playing on the road, check. Kicking off at 11 a.m. in an SEC matchup, check. And last but not least, I saved the best for last. You're playing a pretty decent and sneakily good team in Kentucky, check. It checks off all the boxes for a trap game, and that's why I'm worried. But I'll also be brutally honest with you. The main reason I'm worried about this game is because I think Kentucky, when they play to their best potential, and we know they're going to give Alabama their best shot, they're a pretty solid team. I'm not going to say they can beat anybody, but they're pretty good. I mean, come on, man. They're not 6-3 for no reason. I'm going to remind you, this is the same Kentucky team that blew out Florida 33-14. This is the same Kentucky team that dang near beat Tennessee. They only lost, what was it, 33-7? Wait a minute. Matt. What are you saying, buddy? I said 7. 33-27. There we go. My apologies. I'm going to show you this right here. Kentucky's 3 losses this year have came to top 20 teams. Actually, no, not just top 20, but top 15 teams. Georgia, which they beat them bad, but it's Georgia. We expect that. Missouri, top 15 team, and Tennessee, top 15 team. So I'm going to go back to this. I'm not trying to sit up here and advocate and trying to convince you that Kentucky's a really good football team. But I'd tell you this much. If they were in the Big Ten, they'd probably be something like 8-1 right now. And don't even get me started on this. If Kentucky was in the Big Ten West Division, they might be 9-0. And I know it just seems like I'm harping on Kentucky, but I'm just trying to give you my perspective heading into this game as to why I'm worried. I'm going to say this right now, and I want to make this evidently clear to the rest of the college football world. Kentucky is good enough to beat Alabama. Let's get that straight right now. Because if they weren't, I wouldn't be sitting up here making this video. I wouldn't even be previewing this game. Y'all know if I'm making a separate preview for 2 teams, it's got to be a big time deal, at least to me. And some of y'all may or may not remember, I didn't even preview the Kentucky-Georgia game, and everybody was wanting me to because I believe at the time, I'm 99% sure that Kentucky was undefeated heading into that Georgia matchup. And everybody was like, yo, Matt, why didn't you preview the Kentucky and Georgia game? And it was relatively simple because I said Kentucky didn't have a chance. The one thing that has always hurt Kentucky when they play Alabama and Georgia is they match up terribly. Football is all about matchups. If you want to beat Alabama or Georgia, you got to have an elite quarterback or have your mediocre quarterback play elite. And Kentucky's just simply not built to beat teams like Alabama or Georgia because they want to run the ball. And I tell you this right now, I said it heading into the Georgia game, it held true, and it's going to hold true against Alabama. You're not going to run on this Alabama defense. It's just not going to happen. You may break off a 40-yarder by chance, but I'm talking about consistently gain 5 to 6 yards. Won't happen, can't happen. Ray Davis for Kentucky is a phenomenal running back, one of the better backs in the SEC, but he's not going to see a lot of success against Alabama. The only, and I mean the absolute only way Kentucky even stands a chance in this game is Devin Leary. He's got to play amazing. And believe it or not, I've been keeping up with Devin Leary ever since he was at NC State. I think he's more than capable of playing out of his mind in this game. We've seen it before. You got a mediocre quarterback like Zach Calzada, the quarterback for A&M a couple years ago, play out of his mind against Alabama. To give you some context on Devin Leary, if you don't know who he is, well, he's been playing college football for about 6 years now. He started playing in 2019 for NC State, and if you're a Kentucky fan, you know this. He's been an extremely big disappointment for this team. And even to me, I had him as one of my top 5 quarterbacks in the SEC heading into the season, and he hasn't lived up to the hype whatsoever. Is that because of the offense, the schematics? I have no idea what's going on. But what I do know is he hasn't looked as good as I thought he'd look. I wouldn't sit up here and say he's played bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I am somewhat disappointed. I just show you his numbers right here to give you a perspective. He has under 2,000 passing yards, 18 touchdowns to 7 INTs, and a QBR of 61.7. You see the numbers, not too bad, not too good. But here's something I want to show you, and this was the Devin Leary I thought we were going to see all season long. Against Tennessee, I watched this game from start to finish because I always enjoy watching the Tennessee and Kentucky matchup, and Devin Leary played out of his mind. Like I said, that's what it's going to take to beat Alabama, and if he does something like this, Kentucky's going to be in this game. He finished this game going 28 for 39. You'll take that. Nearly 375 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 INTs, and a QBR of 84.7. That right there is what Kentucky fans thought they were going to be getting all year long out of Devin Leary, and that just hasn't been the case. But my point is, in showing you this, is to prove to you that he can play this good. Will he play this good and perform this good against Alabama defense? I don't know. But what I'm saying is, I believe, and I firmly believe this, he has a potential. But let's take a look at this, why not? Before the Tennessee game, they played Missouri. And in this game, Devin Leary didn't play that good, and that's why Missouri handily beat him by 17 points. 14 for 27, not good. That's about 54 completion percentage. Only 120 yards, 2 touchdowns to 2 INTs, and a QBR right at 55. So here's my biggest question, and it's going to come down to this. Which version of Devin Leary are we going to see in this Alabama game? Are we going to see the Missouri version right here that barely completes 50% of his passes, under 150 passing yards and 2 interceptions? Or are we going to see the Tennessee Devin Leary where he throws for nearly 375 passing yards and no interceptions and a high QBR? He's the X factor. Normally when we talk about Alabama football, we point at Jalen Milroe and say, okay, Jalen Milroe's the X factor, but not anymore, not in this game. We know what to expect out of Jalen Milroe. He's going to make a lot of big-time plays, couple of scrambles. He more than likely is going to throw 1 costly interception, but he's going to make up for it. I'll put it to you like this. I trust Jalen Milroe in this game more than Devin Leary, and it's not even close. Jalen Milroe has been far more consistent than Devin Leary this season. Before the Missouri game, I'm going to show you this stat line right here because I do think it's important, because I do think Alabama and Georgia are 2 similar teams. Alabama and Georgia, they have the same philosophy, so I don't think anybody's going to argue with that too much. Just take a look at this. Georgia in this game had 608 total yards, and Kentucky only had 183. And another thing, and this is what should concern Kentucky fans, Georgia, who isn't known for throwing for over 400 passing yards, had 435 passing yards. Normally, Kentucky's defense is respectable, but this year they've been getting gashed, especially in the secondary and really everywhere. But also in the Tennessee game, I'll present this to you right here. Tennessee had more rushing yards than passing yards. They had 254 on the ground. For Kentucky's defense heading into this matchup with the Alabama offense, I think it's pick or poison. If you want to force Alabama to pass the ball, Jalen Milroe has shown that he can do that. Jalen Milroe loves throwing the deep ball, and he's good at it. On the contrary, if you want to show Jalen Milroe some respect and only put 6 or 7 in the box, Alabama will run the ball down your throat. They have no problem doing that whatsoever. Alabama's rushing attack is not the greatest, but we saw it against LSU. They can dominate a game in the second half just by running the ball. If I were a Kentucky fan, I'd just be extremely worried about the defense. I think 2 things has to happen for Kentucky to win this game. Number 1, like we already talked about, Devin Leary has to, not maybe, no. He has to play out of his mind. I can't harp on that enough. That's the phrase I'm going to use, out of his mind. He's got to play like he did against Tennessee just for Kentucky to have a chance. If he has 2 interceptions, you can drop it right there. Kentucky's not going to win. So that's got to happen, number 1. And then number 2, I think this Alabama offense has to make some mistakes. Whether that's Jalen Milroe throwing an interception or maybe having a bad snap fumble. We know Alabama does it once or twice per game. Bad snap and it's a fumble. Or maybe Jace McClellan, the running back for Alabama, he has a fumble. Or maybe you get a scoop and score. Something like that. You need that. Or maybe a special teams play. You're going to need Alabama to shoot themselves in the foot a couple of times. With all that great stuff being said, I think this game goes 1 or 2 ways. Way number 1, like I said, 11 a.m. kickoff Alabama. They walk in sleeping, and Kentucky receives the ball, takes it down for 7, gets a stop, and next thing you know, within a blink of an eye, they're up 14-0. And then Alabama's in scramble mode, and it's just a contested contest until the end. That's way number 1. Or way number 2 is Alabama. They come in ready, and they just completely destroy them from start to finish. I don't see this being a 17 to 20 point game. It's going 1 or 2 ways. Either Alabama's going to blow them out, or it's going to be a really close game. And I, for one, think it's going to be close because Alabama's not used to playing a 6-3 SEC opponent at 11 a.m. on the road. It's a tricky game. It's a trap game. I think Kentucky, maybe they do some trick plays. They're going to let their nuts hang. They have nothing to lose. They're not supposed to win this game. I think Kentucky might jump out on them, and I wouldn't be shocked if Kentucky was leading at halftime. But I'm going to show you a fun fact right here. In the second half of the Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Tennessee, and LSU game, All of those games combined, Alabama is outscoring those teams 82-13. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in that list I just presented to you, that is 3 top 25 teams, and Alabama is outscoring them 82-13. I think in the second half, Alabama wears down Kentucky, and they show yet again they're a second half team, and they come away and win this game. But it's close. I got Alabama winning this one, 31-24. And I do want to make this clear. It's not that I'm doubting my team or doubting my players. It's just that's how much I respect Kentucky. And I just hope and pray our players are ready to go. And I hope that Nick Saban is making this clear like I am. Hey, guys, this is a trap game. We need to be ready. I'm sure he's doing that. I'm never worried about Nick Saban preparing our guys, but I think you get the point I'm trying to get across here. Tricky game, man. Tricky game. I would love for us to come out here and take the opening kickoff back and just get out on front and never look back. But I'm going to stick with my score prediction, 31-24. I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But